But first this evening, there is no place in Maine that gets more attention than Acadia National Park, and yet not much attention is paid to the employees who keep the park running.
One of those people, Gary Stelflug, retired a few weeks ago. He had been the park's trails maintenance foreman. That's a rather bland job title that doesn't begin to suggest what he meant to the park and what it meant to him. The first time Gary Stelflug laid eyes on Acadia National Park, the place made an impression.
I was pretty shocked at that time, like a young, effectively college-age kid there, liked the outdoors. It's like, whoa, this place is wild.
He liked Acadia, but he wasn't smitten.
I didn't really know whether I was going to come back or not, and then did.
He came back all right, starting as a seasonal laborer and finally retiring as the trails maintenance foreman who oversaw the park's walking and hiking trails. 35 years as an employee left him with a knowledge of the park that few can match. One of the things that you've clearly seen change in the park is just the number of people who are here. The number of visitors has risen dramatically.
Yes, it has. It has.
How has that changed the park experience, would you say?
You know, for the visitor, I can't speak. I try to put myself in their footsteps a lot because I think that helps be a better manager. It's like, why is everybody at this intersection balled up? Oh, that sign's stupid. You know, that sort of thing. Why are people lost on the trail? Why are people saying to me, we couldn't find this? So I've got to get into their shoes. But, you know, it's got to not be getting worse or they wouldn't keep coming.
More than 4 million visitors a year now come to Acadia, an increase of 500,000 people in just the last 4 years.
I'll put in the plug for what my guys are doing and what the Park Service is doing. You hear the phrase, loving it to death. And in some ways it's kind of like, okay, they're really loving it. But if I say to the death, it's like we're throwing in the towel. And I don't believe we're doing that. I think we're trying to meet the demands.
The 155 miles of trails Stelflug was responsible for sounds like a lot. But for a national park, Acadia is small. And Stelflug feels its intimacy is part of its charm.
Well, Yellowstone and out west, some of those parks have 1,000 miles of trails. Smokies has, I don't know Smokies, so excuse me, but 800 miles. Whereas our trails, you get to know them. And I think that's part of what draws people back.
Being the trails foreman was a management job. It wasn't a vacation in the park. It was work. When all of us civilians walk along these trails, we're looking at the beauty around us.
Yes.
What do you look at when you're walking down?
That's an excellent point. I see things like roots showing and gravel washing off a trail, not necessarily this one. This one's in good shape. At Acadia, I also see 150 years of trails history. And literally with Native Americans, I see thousands of years of trails history. I see trails problems, but I do indeed see the same beauty that other people see.
Questions from tourists? He's heard them all. One of them especially frequently.
Where did I park? And then it's kind of like, okay, what did you see when you parked? Well, we saw a stream. No, we didn't. Yes, we did, honey. No, we didn't, dear. Okay, was it a big parking lot? No. Oh, yeah, it was big. It's kind of like, okay, help me out here.
What was your favorite part of the job?
Well, for starters, I got to work for the National Park Service. I'll put that plug in. I love the National Park Service. But I got to build things. I get to build things like this and bridges. And for years, I made all the signs that were on the Trails program. And anything, put in rungs on the precipice, build steps, build walls. I get to do things.
Now that he's retired, Stelflug wants, no surprise, to visit some other national parks. But what he's really looking forward to is having plenty of time to savor Maine, including Acadia. In some ways now, you've really got the best of both worlds because you haven't left this place.
Yeah.
You can still enjoy everything the park has to offer, but you don't have the responsibilities anymore.
That's so true. And I've been, in 2 weeks' time, I've done some canoeing and hiking right in the park, and it's like, oh, not my problem.
Wow.
He is a guy whose enthusiasm is infectious, as you
is.
can see. But he made the point repeatedly that he was part of a team. He did not want the story to be all about him. And he said, he was part of a team, and he had a lot of people who worked for him, and they're the ones who do a great deal of the work to keep those trails in such wonderful shape.
And I loved when you asked him what he sees when he walks through the trails, because of course when we visit it's like, oh, look at all the beauty. We're away from the office for a little bit, but for us it's like, no, we're stepping into his office where he's like, oh no, this needs maintenance, this needs to be done. But it's glad that he can see I'm glad he can see the beauty.
Yeah, no, I mean it would be a terrible thing to have that job and to lose track of the beauty around you, and clearly he never did. He always appreciated it, even though it's work and it's different when that's your job. It's not the experience that the rest of us have when we just go as visitors to relax.
Wow. Hey, well, good luck to him as he enters his next chapter.